Oh, carpenter wasn't kind. Those cages with hands that shine, passing knowledge down the line. Just build it, you'll be fine.
Just build it.
Wooden nails and weathered hands taught me how to make my plans. Said don't worry, don't you fret, and just build it, don't forget.
Just build it.
Just build it, don't you fear.
Just build it.
Wisdom's what you hear. With every nail and every screw, just build it, it's all you.
Take your time and be patient. You're not going to get it right the first time, but the learning process that goes along with it is so much fun. Just build it.
Hello, DIY Chameleon viewers out there. This is Bill Strand, and I am here with Master Carpenter James Cross. Hello, James. How's it going there?
Oh my God, Bill. It is so flippin' hot.
Oh, we've been talking about James and his garage. It is California summer is here. What does that mean, James?
It means it's 127 in my garage with the fans on.
That is insane.
So if I start breaking out in massive sweat, you know why. I don't have any stage crew here to damp my head with a towel or anything.
Well,
I hope my makeup doesn't run, Bill.
Don't worry, James. I've got my coconut water here, so I'll stay hydrated.
Well, you know, last time we were doing this, we left off with a cage that we were doing a hybrid.
Yeah.
And I finished her up. I added a couple of things to it, and then, well, let me just show you.
Yeah, I hear you Jamesified it.
I added a few things, and it turned out pretty sweet.
Some cross
way
upgrades.
To do it. I think that anybody can do this stuff, so that's kind of what this whole episode was about, was to tone it down a little bit and give the people something that they could do themselves really easy.
All right. So, and everybody, I actually do not know what James has done to this cage, and so we're going to find this out together. All right, let's go.
All right. Let me just grab her over here.
Oh, wow.
All right, if you remember last time, we had siliconed the acrylic to the front door.
Yeah.
Now we've swung that door. Okay. And then the next step, let's bring up those pictures.
Okay, shall I start with the first one?
Yes. And we'll see how I glued the bottom. Okay, and as you can see, I have gotten the sides siliconed. We had to let them dry. I couldn't finish the project because the silicone was not set up yet. So now that the walls are all set up, I went ahead and did the bottom. The irony is, I was going to use the black bottom that came with the cage, but in this wonderful California heat, I sprayed some glue on it, or I sprayed some Flex Seal just to clean it up a little bit, and you see what happened there?
Wow. This
thing literally, like a vinyl record put in the oven, it completely deformed on me. And it took it about 15 minutes. I walked out and I went, what the heck?
15 minutes?
15 minutes, and this went from flat and smooth to warped and tweaked.
Wow.
So I went ahead and used my same material that we're using, the polycarbonate fluted material.
Yep.
And I made a bottom for it out of that. And if you notice, I put a big fat bead of white silicone around that guy. So there you have it. I just made my own floor out of the polycarbonate.
Wow,
and what I did is
nice.
I wet set that on top of the frame, just like we did the other sides. And then, of course, I went back through and I squirted a bead in all four corners, and then I used my finger to flatten it out. You always got to make sure you use your finger. If you just leave it bulbous, when the way it comes when it comes out of the tube, you're not going to get a complete seal. You have to run your finger across that bead. It's just majorly important. Okay. Then, after I did that, we went ahead and attached the doors. And of course, we made this really cool custom bottom section that we added the screws to that I showed you in the last episode. So
Right.
now you can open and close this and allow for your humidity to drop during the day. And of course, I use fans, but it also gives you the opportunity to do that chimney effect.
Holy crap.
Okay?
And of course, we can always have that panel be an inch shorter.
Correct. And it will leave us with an opening on the top. Correct.
Yeah. All right. That's a beautiful.
With my humidity levels, I like to seal my cages up completely, but I also make sure I get my temperatures down below 65 at night. So I have that opportunity to fill my cage up with fog.
You know, I'm thinking even just a little chain that allows it a half inch open would be perfect.
That is a great idea. Maybe we'll throw one on there for the next show.
All right.
All right. And then I found this great product. I've mentioned it before, but there's this awesome company out there called Dragon Strand.
Oh, hey, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, Bill, but they're really got some really cool chameleon stuff. And from now on, I'm not going to be building any cages without their Dragon Strand ledges.
Oh,
These things, they just add that extra bit of strength to the cage that you need. And I went ahead and put a full package on this set too. And what it does is it just rigids up the whole screen cage. And now this thing's almost, it doesn't distort or anything. I can turn it any angle, and it holds its shape perfectly, unlike a screen cage would. Awesome.
Very nice. Oh yeah, that's a beautiful cage, man. All right. Well,
we're not done.
What?
We're not done.
We're not done?
No.
This isn't a 10-minute episode?
No, unfortunately, it drives me nuts that I don't have something to put it on.
Oh, James. Well, we ought to fix that. Do you know anybody who knows how to do things to put cages on?
Kinda.
Well, you know what? Call your wife in.
You are funny, mister.
Well, hey, before we jump to that, can you explain how you install the Dragon ledges when they're usually supposed to be on screen cage? So they're assuming a very thin screen in between the assembly. You have polycarbonate.
You're right. Okay, so how I did this was, of course, I figured out the height that I wanted to use. And generally, I go about 16 inches off the bottom, 16 to 18 inches for the first one. And then I separate them by about 12 inches.
Okay.
That basically gets me just high enough to get close to get my UVB in the right area for the distance that I need for my chameleon to be getting the proper amount of UVB without getting any burns.
Okay.
And what distance is that, Bill? I know you know it off the top of your head.
Well, 6 inches if you're using an Arcadia 6% going through the typical screen top of a
There you go. So we're going to have it 6 inches off the top and roughly another 12 inches down from that. That gives plenty of area to grab the UVB for the animal and also give them a place to get out of the UVB a little bit lower.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Okay. So what I did is I actually screwed the strip on, and then it's already got the holes pre-drilled. These are so neat because they just go together so easy. And I basically got a drill bit, which is 15/16, the same size hole that is in that the screw fits through. And I popped a hole completely through the polycarbonate, just like you use the holes that are already in the Dragon ledges.
Yep.
As a guide.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That sounds good. And the polycarbonate becomes the spacer.
Thinking. Yeah, I didn't even have to do any thinking. Well, first you got to put the hole in. Yeah. Okay, so let's go to that next page.
All right.
Okay, so you can see the drill bit coming through the polycarbonate. All right, then scoot to the next one. And there you can see the spacer in there, Bill.
Okay.
So I put the spacer in between the polycarbonate. and I shoved a screw through. The nice thing was it was actually able to hold the spacer in place when you shove the screw through, and the polycarbonate grabbed that screw pretty nice.
Oh, nice, nice.
So I went ahead and pushed all 3 screws through and set that side up, and then I go to the inside. And as you can see on the inside, those screws are through the wall and ready to put the inside spacers on. And what's nice, like I said, that polycarbonate held those screws real nice for me. I didn't have to fiddle around with the outside, kind of like when you have to do it with the screen cages.
Yeah.
But that polycarbonate was like a little hand in there holding those steady for me.
Hey, you know, James, I just released a new design for these, where instead of having that strip, it's
Uh-huh.
just clips that actually hang on to the back brace. Pretty.
I might have to take a look at
I
those. Where would I find that?
Well, you know, I've connections. I'm going to make sure you get some.
Okay, cool. We'll put them on the next one we do.
All right,
All
sounds
right,
good.
let's see that next picture. Now you're going to see the spacers being placed. Okay, and so basically I put the first one on and I put that sex bolt in
Uh-huh.
and I screw it from the one side, but I don't tighten it up. I just let it hang there for a second. And if I'm lucky, which I was on a couple of them and a couple of them I wasn't, you're able to stick those spacers on the screw head and let it just dangle. And then you can kind of bring your arm up and put your sex bolts on one at a time, which you can see in the next shot there. So we put it all together like that, boom, and then all you got to do is just run through and do all the rest of them.
All right.
Huh?
Very cool. Okay, now we need to get to that. You were talking about something to put this cage on.
That's what we're gonna do next. And what I did is I just took some 1x6 pine. You know, I'm 1x3. I'm sorry. I really love this stuff. It's kiln dried. It's nice and straight. It's fairly inexpensive, and it's great to work with.
Is that the
Then the
stuff that
next
you can
tool I
staple
ended up-
through?
Yep. The next tool I used was my stapler. And boy, this is a second. You don't really need a nail gun, I think, for doing these projects. These staple guns work just unbelievably well.
Oh, I feel the power.
So what we did is we cut a piece of plywood at 2 foot. I'm sorry. Yes, 2 foot one way. And we cut it 24 1/4 the other way. Why did I go a 1/4 inch bigger? Well, I wanted to make sure that I had plenty of play, so that gives me 1/8 of an inch on each side to play with. So I just made it just a little bit bigger so that I was positive that the cage was going to fit in there.
Okay.
The 24 in the back, I'm not so worried about because I'm going to be sliding it forward anyway. And we're adding a 3/4 of an inch to the whole thing all the way around. So it's actually going to give me a little bit of space in the back.
All right.
That way, if I want to push it in or push it forward, but it allows that new door that I put on to flop down over the front. So anyway, the way I do it, bring that picture up, Bill.
Okay.
Okay, so what I've done here is I've got my 24 by 24 inch piece of plywood. And what I've done is from the short point, I'm going to go ahead and put a mark on this board. Short point to short point, that's going to be my actual dimension. I always add a 1/16 of an inch to my length when I make that cut. It gives me just a little bit of play in between and still allows the board to be tight. If you cut it right on the money and your board's out a little bit, it has a tendency to not make your nice tight joints. The other thing I'll do is, you know how everybody says cut 45? Well, I don't. I cut a 46. And the reason for that is it opens it up just a tiny bit in the back, but it makes that front joint nice and tight no matter what every time.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a carpenter trick. When you're doing crown molding or anything of that sort, it opens up the back just a nano, but it makes that whole front edge nice and tight. So that's the way I like to do that. Let's go to the next one. So then what I did is I hung it over the edge of the table I'm working on.
Is it?
And I held it up just an eighth of an inch because I wanted to have something that if my cage slid one way or the other, it would have some kind of stop. It wouldn't be smooth all the way off the edge. So, and then I tacked that guy on there like that. Okay, and I'll put one in the end, and then I'll go to the other end, and then I'll look down it to make sure it's the same height. I'll tack another one. Then I put one in the middle, and then I nail the sucker off. About every 2 inches, I'll put a staple in it with that glue.
Okay.
With that PL, it's super super strong. So once that stuff dries up, boy, you just can't get it off of there. There, I've got 3 sides on, and that's where we're going to take off from right now, Bill.
Okay.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to put that last piece on for you.
Oh, wonderful.
All right. We're going to get our tape measure out. We're going to check this guy. 24 and a quarter. I'm going to take this piece here. I'm going to take and what's called burning an inch. I'm going to go to my first inch mark. And instead of marking 24 and a quarter, I'm going to mark 25 and a quarter. That way I know I'm exactly where I need to be. So I can put that 1 inch mark right on the line, get my handy dandy pencil.
Why are you burning an inch? What's that?
I'll show you.
All right.
You see that silly thing on the end?
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to get that guy to stay right where you want him.
Oh,
You
yeah,
see that?
especially on an angle.
So what I end up doing is I can put that mark right on the 1 inch, right on my edge. I can't see if I'm right on there or not, but I'm able to actually get it right where I want it when it comes to measuring the tape.
Okay.
And since my board's laying flat, it just makes it that much easier. So I'll burn an inch and add that inch to my actual dimension.
Okay.
Now I know I have a perfect measurement. Okay, and then I'm going to take it over here to the chop saw. Can we see me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, I've got my saw set at 46 degrees. I'm going to lay it up against the table, and I'm going to make that cut. Before I do anything more, I'm going to test fit it in case I need to cut another piece because I made a mistake. Don't normally, but sometimes it happens. Especially when it's 127 in your garage. What?
I want everybody to know that James sacrifices for this show.
I am sacrificing for the community today, I'll tell you. So I'm going to get my PL out. I'm going to put a squirt right there, a squirt right there, and then I'm going to put a bead right across there, just a very light bead. I'm going to grab my rag because I know I'm going to put my fingers in it. And we're just going to wipe that off and make a nice thin film on there. This is going to hold your joint together for a long time. You don't have to glue it, but your joint will separate eventually, especially if you get a little bit of water on it. All right. Then I'm going to put that guy right in there like that. First thing I want to do is make sure I get that first corner nice. So I'm going to bring that in there. I'm going to tighten that guy up. Shoot right into the meat of the wood. Then just to make sure it's good and tight going down, I'm going to hold it up on end. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to nail this guy off. Okay. Boom. There we have it. This is my top.
Okay.
This is what my cage is going to sit on. And this is what we're going to drill through when we go to make that drain. Okay, I'm going to set this guy off to the side. Let's go to the bottom. We're going to make a top and a bottom and then just add legs to it. Let's go to those pictures.
All right.
Okay, so what I've done is, instead of like we did at the top with mitering, on this one I ended up adding an extra 1.5 inches to my length. The reason I did that, you'll see at the end, is I wanted a place to be able to receive my legs in 2 places instead of 1. That way that leg gets a little bit more strength at the bottom. It won't have that same strength at the top, but it'll definitely have it at the bottom.
Okay.
So what we did is we cut that guy 1.5 inches longer, and then we go to the next page. So what I've done here is I actually hung it over that 3/4 inch. That board that's sticking out just a little bit fat is going to receive my leg. Okay, and so I nailed that corner together. And then we went ahead and nailed another corner together on the other end. That dimension will be that 24 inches, being the same dimension as it is from the back. So now I've nailed the 2 sides on, and the piece that's too long is going to be my front piece. Okay. And then we went ahead and nailed that back piece on. Okay, and so you can see I'm sticking past that 3/4 inch. I didn't really have to do any measuring. I just took a piece of board, put it together with it, and slapped it up there and made sure that they were the right dimension between them, just to go past that board. Okay, and once I got all 4 of those corners nailed together, I went ahead and cut a bunch of slats. Those slats are at 24 1/4, and I basically cut them long ways to slide them in, and I just spaced them out randomly by eyeballing them. Sure, you could be a little technical, but I just cut them to length until I had enough to fit it, but had some spacing in between it, just because I wanted to have it look a little different than what the top looked like. Okay, so when I dropped those slats in there, I just used my table to hold it at the right height. So I didn't even really have to think again. And I just brought that over to the edge. I pushed down on both of these, and I was able to just reach down in here and hold my boards in place and nail each one individually. What it ended up doing was gave me a nice flat surface between the 2 of them. And it turned out pretty cool.
Okay, so what is it we're looking at?
We are looking at the base of the bottom of my stand.
Okay.
It's all going to come together for you, but this is where your buckets will sit for your fogger.
Okay,
and
I got it.
it'll be up off the ground. This is where we're going to put our wheels. So this will be the bottom.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a top piece.
Now those pieces don't look. They look like there's spaces between them.
I did do that on purpose. The reason I left the spacing in there is just in case dust, dirt, water, whatever. I kind of wanted to give it a different look, like a deck.
Okay.
Like your backyard deck. I just wanted it to look kind of cool. I could have butted them tight. I could have even put a piece of plywood, but I just thought I'd be a little bit more creative with the bottom. You can use plywood on this.
Okay.
You could put all these boards together. You don't necessarily have to use a 1x3, but I was just trying to be, you know me, Bill. I got to be a little creative.
Well, yeah.
You know.
That's right. I mean, you wouldn't be you if you did things boring.
Okay, so we got it all
You'd
nailed
be
together,
me.
glued together. We've got the extra space on the side. The extra space on the side is going to be for our leg to attach. Okay, but we'll show you that in a minute. Got to do one more thing before we can start putting that part together. So I'm going to go the opposite way with this board. And what I'm going to do is add a little more glue to this guy at the 2 ends. We'll just put a little bit on each board. You don't even have to spread this out. Just doing it for strength. And what this is going to be for is it's going to be for our wheels to mount to. Okay. Let me just show you what that's going to look like. So I
Okay.
nailed it this way because this is going to give me somewhere to screw my wheels to.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to add just a little more glue to this guy. Same thing on the other side for my other wheels. And in your mind, you can kind of think of building a pallet.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the principle is kind of the same way. Okay, so I've got my 2 strips here now for putting my 4 wheels on. Normally I might put my wheels on now, but for the purpose of this show, since I'm up in the air, I think I'm gonna have to put my legs on first.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll add those wheels right at the end. All right, so then what I did is I cut 32-inch board, and these are gonna be my legs that support the whole cage. I'm going to put a squirt of glue on there. And for this, I'm using 1.5-inch staples. Okay. Now, if I've cut everything straight and square, I don't really have to check this, but I'm going to do it just for you.
You guys see how he loaded that? That stapler gun? It's just, it's like the James Bond of the garage.
Okay. I'm going to put 4 that way, and I'm going to put 2 this way. That's a pretty strong leg.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we're going to do that. Little glue. Little leg. Okay. Little glue. Little leg. You see how I made that all work out? So I don't even have to really think. One more time for old time's sakes. Look like I got a little extra glue on there from before. Clean that off so I have a nice clean edge. What am I sitting on? I'm making sure I'm sitting flat. There we are. All right. Next part's going to be nailing our top on. I'm going to move this guy out of the way for a second.
Oh, look at that. That looks cool.
I'm going to set this guy on here. We got to remember our 24.5 or 24.25. I'm sorry. I want to make sure that we put that the same way. 24.25. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we added that 3/4 to the top. So we want to add that 3/4 to the bottom. This little 3/4 back, we want to add that to the bottom. So I'm going to come in here and go 3/4 back. And we're going to do it on all 4 sides. Now we have a stand.
Okay, nice.
Stand that guy up for you.
Except everything's got to roll.
Oh,
We are the
man, you
rock and
work.
roll DIY guys.
Well, okay, I'll put some wheels on it. We're gonna do it on the ground because it's gonna be the height. Hopefully you can see it at the height it's sitting at. Can you see
Yep,
that?
we can see it.
Okay. So, just gonna take that extra second to make sure that these end guys got a little bit of. Again, I'm not really one to worry about measuring. It can be as close as you need it to be. You can get crazy and get your tape measure out. Really what I do is I just square it up in the corner. So what I'll do is I'll line one side up with the board that I put in here. I'll point that guy towards the corner, and then I just make sure there's a clearance between the wheel and that. And I'm going to hold it back about a quarter off both sides. Okay. And then I'll just take my tape measure or my pencil and I'll put a mark so in case when I'm doing it, it doesn't move on me. I know it goes right there. And I'm going to grab a couple of these guys. These are bit tips. They're usually used for metal, but they work fairly well with this because they have this big giant pan head on top of it. So I really like using these guys. And they're free from the job site. Alrighty. 4 wheels.
All right.
And let's see how that works.
Let's roll them, roll them. Oh, look at that.
Huh? And the last part.
There's more?
Well, we got to see if she fits.
There's always more. Hey!
And there you go.
All right. And of course, there's room down there for a bucket for drainage and or a Fogfather misting system.
Right.
Misting fogging. Nice.
And your drainage, or you can put your fogger down there. Everything's open, nice and easy to use. Super inexpensive to build. I think the whole thing altogether was under $200.
Oh, that is, yeah, that is
Convert that
nice.
page.
That is nice.
You've got your door that opens. You've got your plastic dropout door in the front.
All right.
And now you've taken a Reptibreeze and turned it into a hybrid.
Yeah, it is unrecognizable.
Pretty crazy for a couple of hours work in the garage, huh?
Oh, that is awesome.
Anybody can really do this on a Saturday.
That is so awesome. So,
Huh?
okay.
One more for the books, Bob, Bill.
Yes, that is incredible. You have anything more that we need to go over? Well, let me ask you, James.
Okay.
What are you going to do with all those cages?
Yeah, I got this crazy friend who's a chameleon pusher. I don't know if you've ever heard of those guys, but I got some plans coming up in the future for sure. We'll be doing some maybe some small batch breeding with a group of great, real awesome people.
Okay.
Really looking forward to that. So there we go, 125, and I still came out in the garage and built it for you, Bill.
125? So it's gone down since we've started talking?
Yep, I lost 2 degrees because I got the fans on.
All right.
I'm still sweating.
All right, then. Well, then how about we close this off here and let everybody go off and make stands of their own?
Awesome.
All right, James, thank you very much for showing us how to make a stand. And yeah, hey, any last words?
Thank you all for being here, and get out there and just build it.
Excellent. All right.